Everyone, Ollie here, and this is the 6th edition of Olly Ranks, where I'll be ranking Season 6 of Classic Doctor Who. This season also marks the end of an era of sorts, and this because this is the final season to air in black and white, the final season to air in the 1960s, and this is Patrick Troughton's final season, as he only intended to do only 3 years in Doctor Who. So this ranking will be a little bit different because I simply can't decide on first place. So I usually rank from my least favorite to my most favorite. So by this time, we're going from my most favorite to my least favorite. So off in joint first place is the Seeds of Death and the War Games. The Seeds of Death being my all-time favorite classic Who story, and the War Game just being absolutely wonderful. The Seeds of Death is awesome because it's a sentimental story for me and it really stuck with me for a very long time. The acting in this story was very good, and I would say that Fuchsia was probably the side character that actually stood out for me the most, even though we had a very strong side cast and I really liked all of them. But Fuchsia actually stood out for me because he was very interesting to me because of his own story and how he pretty much sacrificed himself so the Doctor can actually succeed in defeating the Ice Warriors. And his death was actually a very good scene, to say the least, and it helped build towards the climax. The Ice Warriors were really good here, and they were very intimidating, and I think they were a lot better in their second appearance than they were in their first appearance. And there's some very iconic scenes as well in my eyes, and if you can watch my review, I would pretty much explain all the iconic scenes that were there. The War Games was explosive throughout. We also have the Time Lord showing up, and the Doctor getting exiled whilst Jamie and Zoe were sent back to their own times. The story itself was epic. There were a lot of great moments, incredible acting, tense scenes, action scenes are very good, and there's a nice little wrap up to the 1960s and the black and white era overall. I gave both these stories a 10 out of 10. In second place, we have The Mind Robber. I really like the creativity and the ambition that went behind the making of the story. We got some iconic scenes, and I like the visuals that were in the story, such as the unicorn and the TARDIS exploding in mid space and reforming at the end. I liked how Jamie was replaced, well, Fraser Hines was replaced because he was ill, and they decided to use the recently passed Hamish Wilson. I think he got shot or something, and then the Doctor had to put Jamie's face back together, and he ended up doing badly, and that's how we got Hamish Wilson in there. And Troughton looked like he was really having fun in filming the story. I think he even said that The Mind Robber was his favorite Doctor Who story that he filmed, and I love the supporting cast and the villains as well. And Jamie and Zoe were great. The villains were good. And some iconic scenes. And obviously, the start of episode 1 was very well acting because it was just the Doctor, Jamie, and Zoe, and it definitely showed their strengths as a trio. And I gave The Mind Robber a 9 out of 10. Third place is The Invasion. And this story was really good, but it's not really one of my favorites. The acting was good, the production was fabulous, especially the location filming. And as I mentioned before, it's a bit of a step down to Tomb of the Cybermen, and because I know people prefer Invasion to Tomb, but I'm on the majority that prefer Tomb to Invasion, to be honest. Tobias Funn was a great villain, and Kevin Stoney did a really good job. There were some fairly good scenes, especially with the Cybermen coming down the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral and the helicopter scene for episode 4, but that was animated. But I'm sure if episode 4 actually existed, it would look really good. And then also, the Cybermen get a new design, which I actually really liked, and it was really cool. And they used it again in the Revenge of the Cybermen back in the fourth Doctor's era, and that's pretty much a long wait for the Cybermen to come back. And we also have the introduction of UNIT, and they become a very important part in Doctor Who for the next few years, and even in New Who as well. They're somewhat important. And we also have the return of the Brigadier, Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, who's actually the Brigadier here and the leader of UNIT. And he does do a good job here, and he was definitely better than he was in the Web of Fear, to say the least. So my main problems with this story is that I think there was too much padding, and I also felt that the Cybermen were just merely henchmen that didn't really feel threatening. So they didn't even speak a whole lot. They were just there shooting up people. I think Tobias was just pretty much until the last episode, the 7 actually get to do a whole or deal a bit more, but they don't even show up until episode 4, and then the rest are just there in my eyes. And plus, I didn't really like the character of Israel, to be honest. So the invasion I gave an 8 out of 10. In fourth place, we have the Crotons, the first story to be written by the ever so iconic Robert Holmes, and I would say that the Crotons is really underrated, and I don't think it deserves that much hate. The Crotons themselves looked menacing, but they did look awfully silly, to be honest. I liked how Zero was given a chance to shine here, and she was actually given a chance to shine in the invasion, and I liked how it was continued from that story to this story. I liked how she was able to help the Doctor defeat the Crotons. GM, I wish he did a bit more, to be honest. He was just, I didn't think he had much to do for Jamie, so he was just there. And the side characters don't really that interesting. The villains, other than the Crotons, he was okay, but his motives were a bit unsure. But the Crotons, I would say, is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I'll give the Crotons an 8 out of 10. In fifth place, we have the Dominators. This story could have been a whole lot better. It does suffer from a lot of issues, and I actually did find this story rather boresome, but the Dominators, in the end, actually does pick up. The Dominators themselves, Roger and Toba, they were brutal, but they were really boring villains, and they didn't really do anything special. I think the actors were really feeling into the role themselves, and the Quarks, I think it was just they did put a lot more attention on the Quarks than they did the Dominators, and I felt that the Dominators were just another attempt to try and make them as big as the Daleks, and obviously that failed big time. I don't hate the story. It does have some good points, and it's possible enough, but because the side character Cully, so yeah, I still give the Dominators a pass, and I gave the Dominators a 6 out of 10. And finally, in sixth and last place is the Space Pirates. A notoriously bad story, but I don't think it's as bad as it's actually made out to be by many Whovians. I can definitely see the faults, and why it's heavily disliked, but there is a plot behind all the stuff that was actually going on, but the execution really let this plot down, to say the least. The Doctor, Jamie, and Zoe, they don't really do a whole lot in this story because they're just merely side characters. This is due to the fact that they were away filming on location for the war game, so I think they only came in for the studio sessions, I believe. And so they didn't really do much other than the Doctor defusing the bomb that Caven was going to use to destroy Tar at the end. So I actually like Milo Clancy, and he actually made the story a bit more enjoyable for me, and he was a funny dude, to say the least, and he did make the story a bit more fun for me to watch, and I did wish that they put more emphasis on the guy and who used it to like write the story a bit more better. And obviously, you had Kevin the villain. He wasn't that much of a memorable villain, and I think he was just that he didn't really feel threatening. He was threatening, but he wasn't as threatening as other human enemies, to say the least. And also, one of the main issues with the Space Pirates, I think it is far too long. Considering that the main cast already, they should have at least made it a 4-parter, so they can have like people, have the side characters doing their stuff, and maybe have Jamie, Zero, and the Doctor just watching from the TARDIS or something like that. Just how they did it in the Mission to the Unknown back in season 3, with the Doctor, Vicky, and Steven just watching the events that are just unfolding back in that story. So I give this story, Space Pirates, a 5 out of 10. Include this ranking, I would say season 6 of it is a phenomenal season. Epic stories, epic moments, and I would definitely say that season 6 is definitely one of my favorite Classic Who seasons, and undoubtedly Patrick Charlton's best season, in my opinion, so I would give season 6 a 9 out of 10. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Doctor 60's Doctor Who and the Black and White era overall. It's been a blast doing these reviews, and my next review will be the start of a new era in a new decade. Season 7, Spearhead from Space, the debut of my favourite Classic Who Doctor, John Pertwee. So thanks for watching this review. Let me know what you thought of my season 6 ranking and season 6 overall. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you later.